In a small town, cradled by open fields and endless bright skies, lived a young boy named Samir. More than anything in the world, Samir loved kites. Not just looking at them, but the idea of flying them, of sending a piece of himself up to dance with the clouds. Every evening, as the sun began its slow descent, you'd find him. While other kids were lost in their games or glued to their phones, Samir would be out in the fields, a thin kite string clutched in his hand, his gaze fixed on the vast expanse above. The sky seemed to call his name, a silent invitation to join its dance. But there was a quiet truth that followed Samir like a shadow. He had never actually flown a kite successfully, not even once. Every attempt was a short-lived ballet of hope followed by a clumsy fall. Sometimes the kite would nosedive and crash, tearing its fragile paper skin. Other times, the string would become a hopeless, tangled mess, and with every failure came the chorus of laughter from the other children. Samir, just give up, they'd shout, their voices sharp and dismissive. You're just not good at this. Their words stung, like little paper cuts on his heart. They were meant to ground him, to make him stop trying. But Samir, with a quiet resilience he didn't even understand himself, never let them break his spirit. He'd simply gather his fallen kite, mend its tears, and dream of tomorrow. One afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows across the field, an old man named Kareem happened to be passing by. Kareem wasn't just any man. He was a legend in their town, the finest kite maker anyone had ever known. He saw Samir sitting alone, a broken kite resting in his lap like a wounded bird. His shoulders were slumped, his face a picture of defeat. Kareem walked over and sat down beside the boy, the grass sighing under his weight. "Why the long face, little one?" he asked, his voice gentle and warm. Samir let out a heavy sigh, the kind that carries the weight of a dozen failed attempts. "Everyone says I'm no good at flying kites," he mumbled, his eyes fixed on the torn paper. I think they're right." Kareem looked from the tattered kite to the vast, empty sky, a knowing look in his wise eyes. "Samir," he said, his voice soft but firm, "a kite that never falls can never learn to rise. Every single fall teaches you something the sky will never tell you." Samir blinked, lifting his head. The words hung in the air, simple yet profound. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. It wasn't about being good or bad. It was about learning. The very next morning, Kareem found Samir and handed him a new kite. It was simple, unadorned, but beautifully crafted in a vibrant shade of red. "This one is for you," Kareem said with a small smile. "But remember my words. Don't fear the wind. You must learn to work with it." Samir nodded, clutching the kite. He wasn't entirely sure what the old man meant. He just knew he had to try. He ran out into the field, his heart a mix of hope and apprehension. He let out the string and began to run. The red kite lifted slowly. Shakily it fought against the air for a moment, a brave flicker of flight, but then it dipped low and tumbled back to the earth. Samir didn't hesitate. He picked it up and tried again. And again, and again. The sun climbed higher, beating down on him. By the afternoon, his hands were sore and red from the string. His clothes were smudged with dirt, and the once perfect red kite now bore the scratches and creases of its many falls. But Samir refused to stop. Something inside him had awakened. It was a fire, a stubborn flame of determination that he never knew he possessed. He wasn't just trying to fly a kite anymore. He was fighting for a feeling, for a dream he could almost taste. Then, at sunset, a magical shift happened. The harsh light of the day softened into a warm, golden glow that bathed the fields in honey. A gentle, steady wind began to blow, whispering through the tall grass. This was it. Samir could feel it. He held the string tightly, took a deep, steadying breath, and ran. He ran with all the strength in his small body, pouring every ounce of his hope and frustration into that one single motion. The red kite caught the wind. It trembled for a moment, as if deciding its fate, and then it rose. It climbed steadily, leaving the ground far behind. Higher, and higher, and still higher. For the very first time in his life, Samir wasn't looking at a falling kite. He was watching his kite dance among the clouds, a tiny speck of brilliant red against the vast, painted sky. He laughed, a pure, joyous sound that echoed across the quiet field. Tears welled up in his eyes and streamed down his dusty cheeks. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of triumph. In that moment, all the failures, all the falls, all the taunts and teasing, none of it mattered. It all melted away. Because right then, standing in that golden field, with the string humming in his hand, Samir felt like he was touching the sky. Karim had been watching from a distance. He walked over, a proud smile on his face. "You see," he said, his voice filled with warmth. The sky did not change. "You did that." Samir looked from the wise old man to the kite soaring majestically above him, and in that instant, he understood everything. Every fall had made him stronger. Every failed attempt had taught him a new lesson about the wind, about balance, about persistence. And every time he got back up, he rose a little higher, both in spirit and in skill. Years passed. The little boy who couldn't fly a kite became Samir, the famous kite flyer. People from towns far and wide would come just to watch him, to see the way he could make the sky dance with vibrant colors and graceful movements. His kites swooped and soared, painting stories against the canvas of the sky. And whenever a child, their eyes wide with wonder, would ask him, "How did you become so good? What's your secret?" Samir would smile, the same gentle smile Karim once gave him. And he would always reply with the same timeless words of wisdom. A kite that never falls can never learn to rise. Because success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about what you do after you fall. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiration.